Looking for tips and tricks on a new city? Top Dog Tours is the best place to check out walking tours. We are in Boston, Philadelphia, Toronto, and New York City. Visit us on topdogtours.com to book your tour today and check us out on social media for offers, discounts, and pictures. I'm Nicole Kelly, and this is She Brew in the City. And today I am talking to Harmonie Krieger, who you may recognize if you watch the hit Netflix show Jewish Matchmaking. Hi, Harmonie. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with me.
Hi, Nicole. So excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I love that you are so high energy because I feel like I'm never caffeinated enough. So I'm going to draw your energy through.
I have my
you got your coffee. You got your coffee. I didn't have my coffee this morning, so I will draw off of your high energy.
And by the way, it doesn't happen all the time because I'm not a morning person, just so people know. It's not all the time.
I'm not a morning person either. I am very much, because I was an actor for so many years that it's just like if it's before 8 o'clock, I feel like it's just not my thing. But
I
having
love you.
a child,
You're speaking my language. But what about when you have a child? What happens?
Well, it's very interesting because when she was first born, she kind of adopted the actor hours. So she will, if she naps, stay up super late with us, and she's got severe FOMO. So
that is my dream
to have like a child who's on nighttime hours. I know I have a lot of people. They're like, "Well, our kid wakes up at like 6:30 in the morning," and I'm like, "That's not."
I literally have to train my child if I have one to wake up when I wake up.
It's possible, though. The problem is she goes to preschool now, so we have to be there 8:45, and as she gets older, it gets earlier and earlier by like 10 or 15 minutes each year. So I have to kind of train. I'm not looking forward to it. And I have an 8 a.m. class Tuesday and Thursday this semester.
Oh my goodness.
So I have to leave the house.
So now you're a morning person, Nicole.
I'm going to force myself to be a morning person. So kind of coming back to our tangent about not being morning people. I always like to start off by asking guests kind of where they're from, what their, childhood was like, their Jewish background, if any at all. So if you could share a little bit about that.
Sure. So I'm from New York City. I was born on the Upper East Side, and then my parents moved to Westchester. So I grew up in Scarsdale, Eastchester area, and it's about, 25, 30 minutes from the city. So I always grew up kind of having both a suburb and the city life. I was always, I just loved going there in the weekends and seeing the bright lights, and that was always so enticing. And then I got to grow up in a really great suburb where I had a ton of friends, but none of them were Jewish. So the area I was in was very, it was Italian Catholic, and I was one of, 3 or 4 Jewish people in my entire school.
Wow.
So it was very interesting because my dad, in the show I talk about it, but for those who haven't seen it, my dad was raised Orthodox, and he really chose to go the opposite direction, and he sort of became an atheist in a way. And so I didn't grow up with hardly any Judaism in my everyday world. And then my mom started teaching Hebrew school to young children I would say when she was about 40, I must have been, I don't know how old I was at the time, but whatever it was too late for me to go to Hebrew school at that time. I kind of passed the point. So I never got that experience, and none of my friends were Jewish. So it's so interesting because then I went to Syracuse University where all my friends were Jewish.
Oh, so Syracuse is like a super, I'm not as familiar with Syracuse as some other universities.
Yes. Well, I guess the people that I hung out with and I was in the most Jewish sorority, Sigma Delta Tau, SDT as we say, and I was the social chair, and I'm like, what do you mean I fit in? And my parents were so worried because I didn't have that upbringing that I wouldn't fit in.
It's so interesting that you say that your dad was raised Orthodox but decided not to do that. My mother's family generation before her, everybody's Orthodox. Like they only spoke Yiddish in the home, like very religious. And then my mother had a sister who passed away when she was very young. So it caused a lot of, I think, emotional trauma, obviously. And both her parents kind of shied away from religion. And my mom really didn't have, other than going to family events at my great aunt's house that I've talked about in other episodes. So one of the reasons that I had such not like a strict, but like a cohesive Jewish upbringing is because she felt that she was denied that. So I feel like sometimes when people grow up in like a very extreme religious atmosphere, either they become, acclimated to that very extreme religious atmosphere, or they maybe kind of go
Right.
like your dad or my mom's parents did to kind of the other end of that because of
Exactly.
whatever reason. So
That's
you
so
didn't go,
interesting.
yeah.
And also my dad almost, I feel, was forced into that. So I think he kind of went the opposite, but then my mom started becoming so interested in
Mm-hmm.
getting back into her Judaism. Because my grandma loved to keep high holidays, but she also wasn't religious about it. Then my mom like, let me explore a little bit more. And then when she started teaching, it really opened up finding it again. And I think that's what's so special about Judaism. Of course, what's going on in the world right now has brought everybody so close to it. However, I felt there was always a piece, and not many people know this, missing from my life in that
Mm-hmm.
sector. But I didn't know what that meant because I didn't grow up with it. So you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. No,
So I almost
this is
felt like I was
something,
like
yeah.
faking it. You know what I mean? Like I was like faking it till I made it. Like I went to high holidays and I did some Shabbat dinners, but I didn't know what anything meant. So I felt like I was sort of this outcast, but I wanted to be on the inside. You know what I mean? So I felt like
I've
I
heard
was
other
yearning for it.
people say something like that. Like I have a cousin who would go on to have like an adult bat mitzvah and mentioned in her speech about how
Oh
she
my God.
got married in a synagogue and like was involved, but she kind of always felt like she didn't know because she didn't have a bat mitzvah or go to Hebrew school. So I think
Right.
especially with people, millennials and people, I don't even know the generational names anymore because there's so
And me
many.
neither. I don't even know what I am, by the way.
Yeah,
By the way, I
I know.
need to know more about the adult because that's what I want to do. I want to do an
Yeah,
adult bat mitzvah.
we're gonna talk. I'll put that down.
Okay.
So she kind of felt like other than, and even like my mother had mentioned that she, kind of learned the prayers through going to synagogue with us, but she never
Right.
really understood. So I think a lot of people, maybe when they have children, maybe when they become adults or thinking about having their own families, they kind of find their way back in, which is what really happened with me. Like I was very religious growing up. And we were just home in Los Angeles and I was talking to my sister and she's like, you're really Jewish now. And my mom was like, she was always
So what does
really
that mean?
Jewish. I don't know. Like we do Shabbat. Like we never did that growing up. Like I go to temple and she's coming to visit in February. And my mom was like, you should go to services with her. And my sister is much more culturally Jewish than religiously Jewish. And she's like, I don't
Right.
know. And I was like, my mom was like, she was always Jewish. It's just that because I became an actor and theater and music became so much of my life, it replaced the obsession I have with being Jewish and Judaism.
Right.
So, we're members of a synagogue. I'm finding my way back to it.
I love
So-
that. That's so
so-
inspiring because I feel like I'm in the same sort of arena with that.
Yeah. And what's great is there's, especially with, online resources and so many people who are in the clergy being like available to talk to people online and
Exactly.
these Jewish educators like on Instagram kind of talking about stuff. There's a way for everybody to become
I agree.
educated, even if they don't want to do, like a formal Jewish intro class.
I love it. And that's how I feel. I almost feel like it's culturally Jewish now to just like learn because there's so many people that could teach and they break it down in such a digestible way.
Yeah.
I think that's the other part because people feel like they have to be religious to be Jewish and it's the opposite. You can have we're Jewish and that's
Yeah.
it.
And that's one of the things I'm trying to do with this podcast to show that there are 1.5 million ways to be Jewish and everybody's Judaism is valid regardless
Yes.
of whether or not they're Satmar Orthodox or their dad's Jewish and they just light a menorah. That's all
what Eliza
relevant.
from the show, the matchmaker from the show, always talks about. There are 1 million ways to be Jewish. You're Jewish. And when I tried out to be the show, I thought that I wasn't going to get the show because I was not Jewish enough.
Okay, well, we'll jump. Roundabout way, we'll jump into talking about the show. So most of the people listening will, if they recognize you, will recognize you from the Netflix reality show Jewish Matchmaking. How did you get involved with that? I'm always so curious because I watch The Bachelor sometimes,
Me
and
too.
they're always like, if you, I love reality television.
Me too.
It's a vice of mine. My dad once told me when I was still actively performing, he was like, you're taking jobs away from actors when you watch that. And I was like, I don't care.
I don't
it's
either.
magnificent and I love it. So they'll advertise, they'll say, do you know someone who would, want to be, date our bachelor or bachelorette? But I never,
Right.
I mean, maybe I'm in the wrong social sphere. I never saw an advertisement for Jewish matchmaking. So how
There
did you
wasn't.
find out about this?
It's so interesting you said that. Thanks, because now that I think about it, you're right. There's always some sort of casting, and
Yeah.
never. Okay, so this is interesting. My friend in Los Angeles, JD, she is a matchmaker, and she matched me with, and I've never really gone to a matchmaker before, and I know her husband from college. I ran into them at Runyon Canyon, which is a hike in Los
Yes,
Angeles.
yes.
And we had our dogs together, and I'm like, I need to give this a try. So she set me up with about three, I would say it was three dates, three different men, all lovely, by the way, just not my thing, not my
Yeah.
jam. And she reached out to me and she said, well, it's interesting. My other friend, who's another matchmaker, in the group of matchmakers, because they all know each other, by the
Yeah,
way.
it's a very specific thing to be a Jewish
It really
matchmaker, I think.
is. So she said she's casting for this show, and I actually feel like this is your path. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I did a lot of TV hosting in my day, so I'm not shy in front of the camera. However, I'm very private about my love life. Like I
Hmm.
have never posted a photo of another guy that I was dating on my Instagram in maybe 15 years. Like I have never done anything public when in my love life, and that's
Yeah.
that's just very personal to me.
Yeah.
And being, as a host and sort of in the, I don't know, in that world, you almost want to stay single in
Yeah, yeah.
quotes.
That's the thing. There's a lot.
There's like a stigma
There's a
with
long
it.
history of people pretending to be single, or
Exactly.
you want to stay
Exactly.
there's. I guess it's sexier to be single than to have
I
like a
guess
family.
so,
I
but
don't know.
you're right. And then I think this was the moment.
Hmm.
She said try out. I'm like, I don't think, number one, I don't think I'm Jewish enough. Number two, I think I'm
Hmm.
too old. That's how I truly felt, because when they do these shows, they're usually a skew a little bit younger. And
It's
she
so
said,
interesting you said that, because we didn't watch the season, but we started watching The Golden Bachelor. And
yes,
it's so funny because my husband pointed out that for a lot of these people, it is maybe one of their real, because they're like 75, their
right.
real last chance at finding a spouse, where it's like
Yeah,
when on the regular Bachelor, it's like they're 21 and they're like, I'm never going to
exactly.
find someone.
I
It's
know.
like, you are a child and your brain is not fully developed yet. Like it's going to be, you've got
Exactly.
plenty of time. And I
And
also feel like my mother, never, I feel like I had the anti-Jewish mother when it came to finding a family. She was always like, our optometrist, his sister didn't get married until she was in her 40s. And she was always like, Mark's sister didn't get married until she was in her 40s. So there's no rush. And it doesn't. So she was always very,
right.
which I think is the anti-Jewish mother, where it's normally
Yes.
they're like, you need to get married and give me grandchildren.
So it's funny you said that. My dad was like that. And my mom was very much do your own thing, fly. She knew I was always unique. We're the same zodiac sign, Aquarius.
Hmm.
We're dreamers. We're out there. We
Yeah.
don't do anything by the book. So she always said, in your own time. So
Yeah.
she also was like the anti-Jewish mom. She's the one that told me to go to LA, like fly your wings, go do what you want. And my dad, it's funny, my dad said, wait as long as you can. Well, look what happened. He's like, literally, there's so many guys out there, but just date as long as you can. And it's so funny. What do you think he says now? When are you getting married? I'm like, yeah, because you told me to wait this
You
long.
told me. Well, statistically, you've just skipped your first divorce. That's
I
my
did.
sister said
I
that. She's
did.
like, I've skipped my first divorce because
Oh, I
I
love that.
didn't get married
I
in my
love
20s.
that. I'm going to use that. I did. I would have been, by the way, I would have been divorced if I married any of those people I was dating when I was younger, because I also wasn't ready. And
Yeah,
I knew.
I think especially, and this is something that I feel like a lot of younger people in their 20s, they're not interested in the idea of a marriage, but they really want a wedding, especially
Right.
with weddings becoming such like a huge thing. It's like a wedding and a party is what I think people want. But when the wedding's over, the relationship is a lot of work. And I don't think people are prepared for that.
It's a lot of work. And I never was dreaming of the wedding until I watched my friends at 25 get
Yeah.
married, but I always knew that wasn't the wedding I wanted.
Yeah.
So there's something in me that said, okay, but that's not really what you want. Go find what you want. And I think it was about soul searching and becoming a partner that I was happy with inside, because at that point I was very selfish. I was doing my own thing. I was living in New York City. I was bopping around. I
Yeah.
was, auditioning for hosting gigs. I had a boyfriend, but I did not want marriage. And I
Yeah.
was pretending like I did.
Because that's what I think society expects. And we'll talk about
Exactly.
that, especially of Jewish women, is that you're
Right.
supposed to want all these things. And it's okay not to get married ever. Like
Yeah.
this is a valid option for people.
Or have kids.
Yeah, that's
I
a
have,
real thing.
and I have so many friends right now that have chosen not to have a child, and they are very happy about it. And so that's their journey. And I
Yeah.
just think that more and more people are coming forward with, it's okay, whatever you want to do. We're back in the day. it was not okay. Like, this is what you were supposed to do. So so back to when I tried out
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
show, I think my video in my audition with the producer was so raw and real because number one, you have no idea what they're going to ask you, right? You
Yeah.
also have no idea where that conversation is going to go. So I didn't know what she was going to ask me. I thought it was just like a slew of questions about my dating history, what I want. But it went so deep and I just lost it. I mean, I started bawling about not thinking I was going to get married, not having a child. I would regret that forever. And why am I in this place at 44 years old when I knew I could have gotten married back in the day? And now I'm dealing with social media and online dating apps that are just not my thing. And I just said to her, my dad is really sick. And to imagine my dad not walking me down that aisle and my grandma passing away because she was at that time she was turning 99
Mm-hmm.
and she turned 100, thank God, but she passed away. But to not have those two most important people in my life at my wedding, I could not imagine that I got myself to that place, almost as if I was blaming myself, which was insane. So I think she was my age, by the way, who casted
Mm-hmm.
me,
Yeah.
and she related so deeply because it was so true. What I was feeling, I believe, is what so many women my age are feeling right now.
It's almost like, well, when you're past this age, you're not deserving of love, which is
Right.
ridiculous. You know, I know so many people that had unhappy marriages that I feel like they rushed into because, well, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And, you know, the divorce rates are super high, especially we talk about like back in the day, people like, well, that's what you do. Well, they were miserable.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I think society really does push this idea of like, well, you're past a certain age. You are this thing. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve a family. And I don't think that's valid or right in any way.
It's
I
really
think
not. And by the way,
everybody's deserving of love.
I'm a product of divorce. So this is the other part that I think a lot of people can
Yeah.
resonate with who have divorced parents. My model for love was that. And so I love my parents dearly, but they were fighting since I was 7 and they did not get divorced till I was 17. So for 10 years, I witnessed a relationship that was love in the most combative, chaotic way. And that literally is embedded in you when you go
Yeah.
into adult relationships. So I was like, oh, I'm never going to have a marriage like that. Well, fast forward, and this is very, vulnerable for me to say, but a lot of my younger long-term relationships, I carried a lot of that chaotic behavior into those relationships. And I'm like, why am I like this? Why am I doing this? Because this is what I saw. Now, I don't
Yeah.
blame them, but it's embedded in you. And you have to break that pattern in order to really become the person that you know you are and want to. And I still battle with some things that I'm very like passionate and I get aggressive. And, my boyfriend now is like, okay, like, you can calm down a little bit. And I'm like, no, like but it comes from like that chaotic upbringing. And so it's up to you to really like regulate your own behavior and nervous system. And I was never in that place. So when I say that was my model of love, I think a part of me kind of pushes
Yeah.
away anything super healthy
I can't relate
yeah.
to this in like from my parents because my parents are still married.
Which
But
is
from like
beautiful.
yes, I know when we got married, our cancer was like both your parents are still married. That's so rare.
Beautiful.
I was severely bullied when I was a small child. I'm going to be
Really?
38 in like a month. And even last night I was like crying and my husband's like, I get this is real trauma that you had. And I'm
Yeah.
carrying it from when I was like in 4th grade and I'm going to be 40 in a couple of years. So it is like a real thing that you carry a lot of these things that growing up can be really hard to get over. And, like you said, you can't blame yourself for this stuff.
No,
You can just try to overcome
and I
it.
never really did. And I'm so sorry that you went through that because any type of trauma is so real for us, and other
Yeah.
people that haven't experienced it don't know. But I will say most people have a version of a trauma they've
Yeah.
experienced, and
We all carry something.
exactly. And I think the show, and this is something that was so powerful. That was my gift. I feel like from Hashem, that was like, this is your time to own your story, and this is also when you're going to break your pattern because you don't have a choice. You're going to tell the world, and whatever they show or edit, it doesn't matter. It's about you saying it all and just being vulnerable with yourself. It had nothing to do with anybody else. And I think because I let it all go. By the way, that was this is the first time I ever said my age on like in like like I said it to the world, but in LA, as you know, the
Yeah.
land of acting and whatever,
Yes.
you
You have
do
to
not
be
say
like
your age as a
12.
woman.
I know. Oh, I know. It's a
So
real
I was always
thing.
in my 30s.
It's the generic 30s. There's a joke that my great grandmother, because we don't actually know how old she was, because people would lie when they came through Ellis Island,
Right.
and she didn't know what her birthday was because they were using the Hebrew calendar, so she picked December 25th.
Oh my
Because if it was good enough
gosh.
for Jesus, it was good enough for her. But she'd
I
like
love
lie. This woman was crazy. I want to do an episode just on her.
I love that.
She would lie about her age, and she was 35 until my mom's dad, who was her son-in-law, turned 35, and then she was 40. So it's like she was consistently 35 for like over 20 years.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, I only went back 3 or 4 years. I think I would say it was like 39, 40. But then obviously when I get to 44, okay, I need to go 41. But also for dating apps, you're in a different category.
Yeah.
So if it was a 2-year difference, I didn't think it was a big deal. But that was a very real moment for me where I had to like say my real age and that was another thing that I think women resonated with. Okay, can I still have a child? Is
Yeah.
there still hope for me? The messages that I got from, everyone all over the world were literally that my story was their story. And that's why I feel like I went on that show.
So kind of going back to Matchmaker. So you had met with a matchmaker before you met Eliza, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I didn't meet Eliza until the first day we started filming.
Okay. So was the experience with Eliza different than with the other matchmaker?
Well, yeah. Well, first, obviously, we're doing it for, TV.
Yeah, for TV.
So it was a little bit of a sped up process. But first of all, when she walked in my door, I was like, oh my God, who is this little beacon of light? Her energy, as you know, she is just like sunshine and rainbows. I love her so much. And I just knew the minute she walked in, we were meant to meet and connect. Whether she set me up with my future husband or whether we were just meant to be friends or whether she was going to bring Judaism back into my life. That's how I felt when I met her. So the process that she took me through of like kind of going through the things I want, the things that I don't want that are non-negotiables and getting to know who I was definitely a deeper dive because I spent a lot of time with her. So it was really personal. And she also was around my age. So she really understood what I was looking for. And she realized, I'm a high quality human and I only will be with a high quality human. But what are the things that are the most important to me? And what are the things I'm willing to compromise on? And what does it need to look like? So she did give me a little bit of tough love, like a couple of things that I said that were important. She's like, yeah, I don't know. I think we could combine a couple of things here. Like, does he have to be attractive and like passionate? And I was like, yes. What do you mean? These are two different things. So she did get me to also shift the way I thought though about relationships and getting older. Like, do you want a child? Is that the most important thing? And I said, yes. Okay, well then you might have to look at a couple of other things that are not as important. Do they want children? Wonderful. Do they have a six pack? No.
Yeah.
and just getting me to see things in a different light, so that
So
was a
much more
beautiful
personal
experience.
than swiping. I started dating my husband before dating apps, so I never experienced the
Oh,
magic of
that's
that,
so
thankfully,
amazing.
because I feel like I wouldn't be able to deal with that very well.
It just wasn't fun. And
It's
I was getting the
dehumanizing.
same result over and
Yeah.
over again. Because
Yeah.
think about it, you're doing the same thing over and over again. But I thought like if I'm out there, and I'm special, then somebody else is out there.
They're being special as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
It works for some people, I guess.
It
So
does.
it does. So Eliza has a lot of rules. And one of her rules is no touching for the first 5 dates.
Yes,
And
that's her big rule.
so you're a very friendly person. Was this a really hard rule for you to follow when you were dating on the show?
Oh my God. I mean, if whoever saw the show and who didn't doesn't even matter. This is what happened. I basically am a toucher and that's how I communicate and make people feel invited in and warm. Like, okay, I'm open. That's how I feel. So when somebody walks in for a coffee or I meet them, I automatically give them a hug. It doesn't even matter who you are because that's how I invite people like into my world, into my
Yeah.
heart. So she said to me, Harmonie, whatever you do not touch. So my first date, Aaron, so he like basically came up from we were at a coffee shop and he came up and tapped me on the shoulder. I didn't see what he looked like, and the minute we stood up, I was like, Aaron. So I literally failed the rule. Second one, I'm like, Aaron. I hugged him. I'm like, it's amazing because it also makes it not be awkward. That's the other part, and
Yeah.
also not awkward for me.
Yeah.
Because once I invite them in, I feel like I'm giving them an opportunity to start talking or
No, I get
sharing.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not a touch person, and my husband is. So
Oh, really?
yeah, like he hugs everybody he's ever met in his entire life, and I'm like,
Oh,
I don't hug
that's how
like
I
family
am.
members. So
That's how I am. And
I'm
she
not as
wasn't
much of a
like,
touch
mad at me,
person.
but she was just
Yeah.
laughing because she's like, "This is so you." Like I can't not touch people.
So you, spoiler alert, you did not end up finding your match on the show. Have you
No.
continued to work with Aliza on finding someone? I know you
So
mentioned a boyfriend just now.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I would say, right. So actually my first date is now engaged and Aliza set them up.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
That's so
So
nice.
after I said no, she set him up and now they're engaged. It's amazing. She definitely opened me up. So I really believe that without that show, I don't know if I would have been with my boyfriend now because I did the show a year, and you
Yeah,
do
it
it a
takes
year
a long time
before.
because of
Yeah,
editing.
so you do it a year before. So I did the show, then I met him, and then we dated for like 3 months, but it was long distance. It was so difficult. We were totally in different places. He was looking for a new job. He didn't know where he would land. I wanted to be in LA, so it just didn't work out. Fast forward, we didn't speak for 7 months. I had to tell him the show was coming out because out of integrity, I wanted him to know that I did not do this while we were dating.
No, that
So
makes
because
complete sense. You didn't want a scandal like on The Bachelor where they were like,
right.
he
And
dumped his
also, it
girlfriend
was
to go on the
Netflix.
show. Yeah.
And it's Netflix. I'm like, he's going to see the show.
Yeah.
So I
It was
really
well
would like
promoted.
right. And if he doesn't care, it doesn't matter. But I wanted him to know. So we had a little bit of a back and forth at that point conversation. And then I was doing an event with the whole cast and Aliza in New York City right after the show aired, and that's where we met up for the first time after 7 months. He was coming to see his parents, and then he's like, okay, like let's like see each other. So we did, and then we started talking again, and he lives in Miami. So I'm like, I don't know, this is the same thing all over again. But the way she positioned, like, I want a child, I'm looking for love, I just saw it differently. And we were both very committed to seeing what this time around would bring because we were both in a different place.
Yeah.
So you never know, because I'm not really a believer of like going back, but it was almost like as if there was so much more to explore. Like we never were really together, and now we are. And so now I have to figure out if I'm moving to Miami, being in LA halftime. So it's but Aliza,
You
I
can
was
be
with Aliza.
bi-coastal. You can be bi-coastal. It's a very,
Exactly.
real
And
thing
Nicole,
to be
I was with
bi-coastal.
Aliza last night because we did.
Yeah,
an
I know you guys were
event.
doing an event.
We did an event, and she just said, Harmonie, like, this is it. He's such a high quality human. I don't know what else you are looking for, but this is it.
She's
I'm
like,
like,
she's
yeah.
like, you gotta.
She said the problem is me, not him. I'm like, okay. Hence
Gotta
why
work
I
through
went on
that.
the show.
So like you said, you've done a lot of events with Aliza. Has she become a friend since you did the show together?
Oh my God, such a friend. I love her beyond. I literally will WhatsApp her at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And now she's in Israel. So it's perfect because her time and my time, because I'm a
Yeah.
night owl.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
just
yeah.
line up and she'll just give me some beautiful voice notes and advice. And I try to see her as much as I can when she does these tours. I'll hop on one city with her. We did New York, we did here, we did California. So it's great because it's allowing me to also continue our connection and spend more time together. And when the show's over, the show's over. But
Yeah.
being with her is so exciting because it's as if we're doing like almost like a second part together.
What exactly do you do at these events? Because I follow her on Instagram, and I'm married, so I don't know if this is tailored toward me. But what exactly do you guys do at these events? And
So,
if someone was interested in attending, what would be your advice to them?
Oh yeah, and she does a beautiful talk and presentation about. Also, it's for married. There are so many married couples at the event as well.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, it's about dating to find someone, and also dating in your marriage and staying
Which is a
married.
real thing that I need to work on
It is. And she
because
said you must carve out a date night. If it's not every week, it's every 2 weeks where it's just the two of you and you go somewhere and you do something. It could even be a double date with another couple, but it's just about you connecting outside of the house, but having also a consistent date night, which I love because it really like brings back sort of the spark and like discovering new things. And she's really adamant about that. So she does that, and then she'll bring me up. And just to talk about, it's funny, the last thing we talked about last night was the no touch rule. And she's like, Harmony is a toucher. And has anyone, gone on a date where like they couldn't touch? And she explained the whole reason behind it.
yeah.
So she'll pull me up at different things. And then the last two events we did in New York, she also did a comedy event. She pulled up my boyfriend. So she'll pull up him, and then she'll do a whole thing as to, how to like really date and come together, and when you're on the same page, what it looks like and how to be open to it. And she'll pull in like different elements from people, and then she'll do live matchmaking on stage
Oh,
with three
wow.
singles, usually
Oh,
different ages. So one in their 30s, one in their 40s, 50s, 60s, it doesn't matter. And she'll really dig into the audience, asking questions, getting to know them. And then she'll say, does anybody have an idea for, the women on stage? Because, it's all about like people in your history. Like there's somebody in the crowd that might
yeah.
know somebody, but you're not thinking that top of mind. So that's kind of how she leads it. And I think if anybody wants to attend and get involved, she's always at, local Chabads or Jewish community events. And I think that it's really wonderful to just go hear people in that space speak and give advice, because there's something that's going to click for you. Doesn't mean you have to sign up for matchmaking. It just means there's something that's going to click that she says that applies to you, that might shift the way you think about love.
I love that so much. And I definitely love that the idea of dating your spouse. Like I said, that's something I need to work on. I
Yeah.
feel like when we're alone, we talk about our company and our child. And
Okay.
I'm sure she's got, rules about talking
She
about
will.
things that are
She'll
not
say,
your
okay, if
children.
that's what it is, then she'll say, don't talk about the company and your child when you go out together. As if
Yes.
you're dating for the first time. But obviously, she doesn't want you to be fake about it. But I think it's more about just reconnecting how you connected when you first dated. And then also doing like fun things together that you might not do if your daughter was with you. Take that away just for like the evening, just for one evening. Yeah.
So what would be your advice to someone who's interested in working with a matchmaker that they either don't want to, or they've exhausted the apps, or they feel like they've dated a lot of people in their city and they're just looking for another option, which is like super old school. I feel like, this goes back to like the shtetl in, the
Yeah.
1800s and that sort of thing. But what would be your advice for someone who's interested in working with a matchmaker and yes, interested in working
I
with a
would say
matchmaker?
I would say try a matchmaker, because what happens the minute you tell the universe, Hashem, whatever you believe in, that you're doing it differently. You're trying to find somebody different. It means that you are positively trying to manifest the love in your life, but you're open and you're willing to do it in a different way. So come like show me all the options, because I was very against going to a matchmaker. I'm like, oh, people just pay to do that. I don't need to do
I
that. And
feel
then I
like
start
there's a stigma, like
there
before,
is.
because I know there was Indian matchmaking before, and now there's Jewish matchmaking. But I feel like when I thought of matchmakers, I was like, oh, this is what the ultra orthodox do, and it's they
Right.
match these 17-year-old girls, and they don't get to meet their husbands. So it was very interesting to me to find out through TV shows that this is still a very valid way to
It
find your
is.
special someone.
It is. And I started putting my just my name and like into pools, pools of matchmakers, which basically means, the man will pay for the service, and then you're kind of considered in the pool. But I also did it where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna pay and just do something differently and try and go on 3 dates. Just as again, like I'm just saying, I'm open, show me all the ways. And I think it's such a beautiful way to meet someone, because the matchmaker is so invested in who you are. She wants you to find love. It's not like a dating app, right? Where you're just like going through the motions.
Yeah.
And so they really take an interest in everything that you're looking for. And Eliza, especially, like her mission in life is to literally, bring people together. I mean, that's what she wants to see. So I would just say try it. Try it, sign, and if you don't have you don't want to pay for a certain level of matchmaking, then put yourself in a free pool, or, go about contacting different matchmakers in your city, or even, internationally, because you never know.
Where would you find these matchmakers? Is this something you would just kind of Google matchmaker?
Yeah, you can Google it in your city. I mean, there are a bunch that are also like, if you're going to contact like an Eliza, obviously, and then there's like, like a Talkify that's always advertised. And if you literally just Google like matchmakers in your city, or just ones that are interested in, a whole bunch will go up. And then I would say go to their site and like vet them, have a call. Most of these services will have an initial consultation call with you.
Okay.
And then you can decide, what speaks to you.
So going back to the show, I know because I watch a lot of reality TV, it's heavily scripted and sometimes very, very fake. However, in the communication that I've had with you prior to this interview and obviously talking to you now, it seems like you're a lot like you were on the show. Was this a proper representation of how you are in real life? So you think
definitely.
that you were portrayed accurately?
I was. And, obviously, like knowing a lot about TV in general, I was a little nervous how they would edit me. And you never know how you're going to be edited or skewed. And obviously, they did a couple things to make me like this character, like the passionate stuff and the mushrooms. But like, it was exactly who I am. There was literally there wasn't one thing that was scripted. There wasn't one thing that they were like leading me to say, which I thought was amazing because they just let me be who I am. How they edit it is how they edit it. But everything they edit was what I said. So it was like an exact depiction of who I am. Every single part. Obviously, they're going to go heavy on certain aspects, right? Like a lot was about like me finding someone that I'm attracted to and passionate. But honestly, like, I don't mean whatever, but like if you see who they set me up with, it's like, okay, I asked for A and you gave me B. So it's like, okay, she asked for this though. She's real about this. Like this is what she's looking for. So I don't think any of it was skewed. I can't say that for everybody else. I don't know how they feel, but in speaking with some of the cast, they feel amazing about it. They were exactly who they were.
That's so nice. Was it weird going to like a coffee shop with someone you just met and then cameras being like right here? Like as an actor, like you're used, like it's like that's the normal way, but kind of just like socializing, I think that must have been very strange.
It is. And I think, you forget about the cameras there for after a while because you really just are who you are. And you're sort of like the cameras over there, you're having a coffee, but I think it's more awkward for the date. Like for my first date, Aaron, I could tell he was so nervous. He's never done anything like this. So I give him so much credit for a man to be able to go on a show like that is so public and put themselves out there is really a big thing for me. I think because I have so much like experience in TV, it didn't bother me as much, but I think to the average person who's never done anything like this, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah. And I mean, my last date, I went to a flower shop and did flower arranging, and that was so awkward because we never met before. And like we had to make flowers and speak as if we were on a first date. So I could tell Ben, his name is, he was a little nervous as well, but you don't realize the cameras after a while.
That's good to know. I feel like I'm always interested in how the reality TV show stuff works because people,
I know, but
I think
a lot of the other ones are very edited.
Well, and they have like strict NDAs too. So, but I'm like, I want all the details of all of this because
I just feel like The Bachelor and all those.
Well, they get those people very drunk, and then
very drunk.
We always joke about like what we would do if we were producers on this show because I think these people are super manipulative too.
Oh yeah.
And
oh my God.
It's like
the Love is Blind, like the whole thing came out, like how they get them so tired, drunk.
They don't, I know, so tired, so drunk. And then there's someone being like, well, I heard that so-and-so said.
Exactly. So this one, by the way, so I'm like, please feed me drinks. Like that's how I felt on this show. Like, first of all, I don't do mornings, as you know, Nicole. My first date was at 10:30 in the morning, which means I had to get ready at 8.
Yeah.
I was
that's early.
miserable. It's like when you're in there you're not there yet. But let me tell you, the circles under your eyes start. I'm like, you guys, I do not do morning dates ever. I'm only a night person. So that first date, I felt very self-conscious because I'm like, how are they going to show me? How am I going to look? This is going to be horrible. I don't come alive till noon. Okay.
Yeah.
Even this, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to like come alive? You know?
No,
So,
I completely
but
get it.
anyway, I'm like, feed me drinks. So like there are a couple of times I'm like, I needed a little liquid courage, but I also wanted to be very clear. And this was my time to own my truth and to be clear in what I wanted. So I really wanted nothing to like affect what I was saying. That was very important to me.
Are there other dating reality shows that you like? Like I remember watching the first
Oh
season
my
of
God.
Married at First Sight, and
I
being
love
like,
Married at First Sight. I'm addicted. I'm addicted because first of all, no show is longer than that show, right? It's like 23 episodes in a season.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say this, but I think I watched it in like 3, 4, or 5 days, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's so bad because at the beginning, I'm kind of like, all right, this is boring. I'm bored. I'm bored. Then when they start to move in, I am so invested in all of them. And that one, and I love Love is Blind because I'm just like, I would never go on that show, but to watch the chaos and what
Yeah.
happens, I'm fascinated by that show.
I would be I would be really good reality TV, but I think it would be terrible for my mental health because I have such social like anxiety, and I'd be like, everyone hates me, and I'd be like the crazy girl that they'd show crying in all the previews. So I feel like I'd be good reality TV, but I don't think it's something that I would want to do.
Right.
Even if it was
listen, you have to be strong for this. In any show that you do, I just feel like you do have to have a lot of self-confidence, and you have to be really just bold in what you say and own it, because when you see things back, I know a lot of people on these shows are like, oh my God, I was edited so poorly, that's not who I am, but it is who you are. The last Married at First Sight, I'm like, oh my God, they're showing her in the worst light, but she is doing these things, so how could you not be that way in real life? No, you are. Like, that's what you're doing.
It's some aspect of you in some way. I get it. My husband was listening to a podcast, and my podcast started right after, and it was me talking. I just went, ugh. And he's like, did you just your own podcast? And I was like, yeah, I don't like the sound of my voice.
We are our own worst critics.
We are. We really are. And I feel like it's really hard, especially as a woman, like you said, as you get older or you're not like the perfect whatever, to kind of be really judgmental about every aspect of yourself. And it's hard.
It is. And it gets harder when you get older. But I will say, when you get older, you do also get more like, I don't care.
Yeah.
What people
this
say.
is who I am. And
this is who I am. I don't care. I wasn't like that in my 30s. I don't think I could have done what I did in my 30s with this show, because I would have faked something, or just like, because I was scared. I was scared to put it out there.
So you talked a little bit about the response from fans. So they've been encouraging. It's been good, because I always feel like, as your social media following grows, it kind of opens you up to all sorts of interesting people and their opinions.
The bigger the following, the worse it gets. I mean, that's just anybody public in general. Even the most amazing, incredible humans in the world get that. And that's just people hating or people feeling insecure about themselves. But I will say, I mean, I think it's been like 95, maybe 97% positive. I mean, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting half and half. I absolutely was, because I remember when Netflix called, they have like a whole, PR team that's like, we need to prepare you. And also, any like anti-Semitic comments are going to come your way. And this is before anything started, obviously, with what's going on now. So they prepare you. And they give you a little prep, and I'm like, I'm good. Like, I've been in this world for a while. I expect that there's going to be some negativity, especially, I didn't want to come off like any superficial or like whatever. So, but I have to say, like, the comments were so encouraging and positive. I mean, I screenshot so many of these comments so I can remind myself my purpose of going on the show, like, just like your vibrant energy, but like, you're leading the way for us, and thank you for your story, because I like, they would just pour their story out to me. Like, unbelievable. Like, this is my story. Thank you for sharing that you're 4 and you're trying to have a child. I've been trying to have a child. My dad is sick. My mom is sick. And I want to get married more than anything. And you made me feel not alone. So I think that, of course, I got like a million DMs from guys that I could care less about. But also, it was kind of great because like the 25-year-olds that are like, or the 20-year-olds that were like, can I take you out? I'm like, dear Lord, thank you.
You're
Thank
like,
you
I
for
still
just
got
at
it.
least giving me this for a couple of years, right? I'm like, do you know how old I am? I could be your mom.
You got this. You got it.
Yeah, but
That's
anyway,
nice.
the
That's nice
positivity
to
was great.
hear. That's nice to hear.
It was beautiful.
So you talked a little bit about like anti-Semitic stuff, and I know since October 7th, I have like less than 500 followers on Instagram, and I have like 3 people who follow me on TikTok, and one is my sister-in-law's fiance. But because I like just started it like last week.
Yeah.
But they still find me. They still find a way to find me and are posting these crazy things. So how do you deal with that when it does come about? Because I feel like it can be really disheartening, especially with everything going on right now, that there's these people that for no reason are just like, I hate you as a person because of how you were born.
Absolutely. It's not easy. I think it goes with the territory of just being Jewish and then being on a Jewish public show. They will find you and they will say disgusting things that I just delete. I don't even read them. I'll see like the beginning of it, and I'll just move on to the ones that are like, thank you so much for supporting. And I went down the rabbit hole, I will say, for a couple of weeks where I felt very depressed and very down about what people were saying and not saying. Even just people I knew, like, why are people not posting about
Yeah.
what's going on? Even if you're not Jewish, I would be posting about everything. Like, just as a human, I was disappointed in humanity. So I would just say I had to train my brain out to when I went to my DMs or when I went to these like requests, which are coming from people that
Yeah.
who know bots, even they're bots. You have no idea.
Yeah.
I would get upset, but then I just started to delete all of them. And that's kind of how I just pushed through. I just knew, okay, this is my purpose. This has brought me closer to being more Jewish than I've ever been, more proud to be a Jewish woman on a show that's come out in a time where we're dealing with all this anti-Semitic BS. And even more so, I get to be a voice even more. And I never was that voice. First of all, I'm the least political person in the entire world. I don't think I've ever posted one thing to do with the world, because I thought, leave that to the experts. And like, really, it doesn't mean I didn't believe in anything. It doesn't mean you don't have a belief in what is right and wrong, but I never used my voice for that reason until now. And I felt like it was my duty and my obligation to start using. My platform isn't huge. I mean, I think I only have like 9,000 followers, but those 9,000 followers are real followers. And I'll lose some every single day. Every day I will lose when I post about Israel. But I know that the right people are following me for a reason. And then it is my obligation to also bring light and joy back into people. Because what happened to me, and I think so many people, is that I went down the depression hole of like, oh my God, it was like a defeating feeling.
Yeah.
And I wasn't posting anything joyful. I was posting everybody else's content. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to start bringing back the light and being the light again. That's who I was on the show. That's why people enjoy me. What am I doing? So I felt like, oh, I need to get back to that. So that's why I started not reading the negative comments, because I just had to focus on bringing light back to people's lives.
It's really hard. I follow a lot, I feel like all the Jewish influencers, and it's just constant. And it's very important. It's very important to talk about. But sometimes I'm like, let's talk about something happy. Let's, almost like, but I feel like maybe there's a sense of guilt of posting something positive while there's people literally sitting in tunnels in Gaza. So I get it. But I'm all about the idea of Jewish joy and kind of bringing that back. Like Tu B'Shvat's coming up. So it's important to be. There needs to be balance. There's a place, I think, for both.
I felt guilty too. I'm like, do I post about my friend's birthday today when this is going on? But all I was posting was about what was going on in the world, that I'm like, wait, this makes me feel good to post this. And I know when I did, I remember it was like a quote or something inspirational. So many people commented back like, thank you for that, because they need to feel that, I think the Jewish joy is so important. I'm so glad you said that, because that's like what we need to spread.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of Judaism or just Jewish holidays in general are sad. We were talking about this last night when a friend was over, and I was like, most Jewish holidays are they tried to kill us, they didn't, and now we eat lots of food.
Why
That's
is
kind
that?
of the because there's been a lot of people trying to kill us through, the last 5,000 years. So I want to jump back to something we talked about a little bit earlier is the adult bat mitzvah. So this is something you'd be interested in doing?
I want to do it so badly. I really do. My cousin, who is modern Orthodox, just said, "Oh my God, you need to go do it in Israel." I don't know how to go about this, but I must do this. This is my mission.
I don't remember which guest it was. I'm terrible. We'll have to figure out who it was, who had her bat mitzvah on birthright in Israel. And I do know that a lot of synagogues also will do like a group adult b'nai mitzvah where it's like a class where you like learn how to read Hebrew and then you get to read part of your Torah portion. So there's totally a lot of options for that. And now that you're an adult, you can have like a banging party.
That's what I want.
And all your friends are able to drink.
Yeah, exactly. My boyfriend also did not have a bar mitzvah. So
really?
So I'm like, oh my God, we could do this if we stay together. We could do this together.
Epic party, epic party. But yeah, you should definitely like figure out.
I'm going to talk to actually my mom's rabbi at the Chabad, who we just did this event with Aliza, and try and find out like how I can do this. I would love to. And by the way, and because I also want to go to Israel. I haven't been to Israel, so
ever,
never.
I haven't either, and I feel like it's this deep, dark secret.
Oh my God. Okay, so we just shared a secret together. I want to go so badly, and my boyfriend has family there, but I missed my birthright trip, and I never did it.
Yeah, I never did birthright. I know there were other options, but the problem is like I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do it, and then I'd book a show, and then something would happen. Yeah. So it was like it kept pushing back, and I know birthright. I think the cutoff is like 26, and people they were like, but you can go later, and I was just like, we moved to New York. I was working full time trying to like pay New York rent, and I was like, I'm not going to go run off to Israel and leave my multiple dogs and husband behind for like 10 days. And now I'm like, well, maybe we'll just wait till my daughter's old enough to go. But like, I definitely want to go. And I keep seeing these things about like, like, what do you call this? Like not community service. Like they're helping people over there.
They're doing the missions.
Yeah. Like help missions. And like I saw one today and they're like, and I was like,
I definitely want to do it. And now, obviously now more than ever, I think I'll wait a little bit, but I want to go.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think it's important. And I feel like I'll be one of those people like kissing the ground when I get off the plane.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think we'll feel more connected. Obviously we will more than ever if we go that now. So that's something I really want to do. And then I have to figure out how to have a bat mitzvah.
Yeah, you could do multiple. You can do both because I know people who had like. I have a family friend who had a traditional bar mitzvah at our synagogue and then went with a group to Israel. And I don't know if they do this for girls because he was a boy. He read from the Torah at the Wailing Wall. So
I've heard of that. Actually, yes. I know.
So you can do both. You don't need to choose.
Do both.
You can do both.
This is my mission.
So I want to ask you about your name. It's so unique and it's so fitting. And I definitely believe that people are kind of a product of your name. Is there a story behind your name?
Well, my dad named me. My mom had nothing to do with it. They had an agreement that if I was a girl, my dad picked the name. If I was a boy, my mom picked the name. And so it's interesting because if you back in the day, I was born in 1978, by the way. There were no trendy names. Okay, trendy names is now. That was not a thing. It was so by the book. And Harmonie was obviously not in the baby book. And my dad at the time was so like a free, like almost like an ex-hippie, like so into music. He wanted a name that encompassed music, nature, peace, calm, which is interesting considering my environment. But anyway, he was obsessed with music, obsessed. I mean, he had like 500 vinyls. I grew up like he would play like a vinyl every 30 minutes. He was just into music. And and he wanted something that kind of like encompassed all of that. I think he went to Woodstock. He was like a hippie. We used to wear turquoise jewelry and fur boots. I'm like, if you met him now, you're like, okay, he's the most conservative person, but he was the most like free spirit. And maybe that was going against, how he grew up. Yeah, but I'll never forget the story. Like when he met my mom, he was wearing like these furry boots at this party and like a turquoise necklace. And my mom's like, ooh, he's so cool. So anyway, he named me Harmonie. And then I was born in this like crazy snowstorm in New York, the snowstorm of 78. Nobody could visit me. The hospitals were basically like only the people that were born could like be there. No one would come. And I remember he said, Harmonie is her name. And nobody thought that would be my real name. Like, they're like, wait a minute, I've never heard of that. And they're like, trust me, this is her name. So it's wild because it actually is it has like a Jewish heritage to it. Like there is like a meaning of it is connected to Judaism because they're like, that's not a Jewish name. And so my dad was like, oh no, it is. So fast forward, I always wanted to just go by Harmony because I didn't have a middle name. They didn't think anything can go with it. So I made one up when I was younger because all my friends who were
Had middle
Catholic
names.
had like two names.
Yeah, they had
So I'm like,
multiple
okay,
names.
so it was like Harmony Aaron. And I'm like, okay, it didn't go. So anyway, the whole point of like moving into this next chapter of my life, which is so beautiful, I'm like, I finally know why he named me this. It's like my job in this beautiful world is to bring harmony into other people's lives. That was it. And I didn't really get it until I got it. And now I have my new platform that's going to come out, which is Life with Harmony. And it's about helping people find the harmony in their life.
That's
I said,
so
thank
beautiful.
you, Dad.
I do believe that names really dictate people's personalities. I feel like if you met like a Chet, you know what Chet looks like. Like,
oh my God. If I met a Chet, it's so true. I feel like he would like be like a stylist from like Sex and like be on a show like Queer Eye for the Straight Guy or something.
yeah, you definitely, names are very important. So you're very LA. I feel like because I grew up in LA, you are a very LA person. How did you end up in Los Angeles from, living 20 minutes outside New York City? How did that happen?
I think I always knew that I wanted to be surrounded by nature, and I was looking for something that was different than what I was supposed to do. So back to when my friends all got married at 25, everybody was living on the Upper East Side of New York City. So was I. I was living with a boyfriend. They were all getting engaged. It was like my turn, dogs. And I just felt like I was in a box. I literally felt so suffocated. Like, is this what we're paying? Whatever, couple grand, $3,000, whatever a month for living in a box like this.
$3,000. Oh, this was a while ago.
By the way, back in the day. I
know.
So I'm like, I just knew this wasn't what I was looking for.
Rose in Titanic says something very similar before she tries to jump off the ship, where she's like, I looked at this and saw the rest of my life and was like, I can't do it.
That's right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I literally assessed. I remember I said, I'm going to go for the summer to LA. And if I like it, I'll see how I feel. And I just knew that when I went, I was never coming back. And that's exactly what happened. And my boyfriend at the time said, do you want to get another apartment? We'll move into whatever. I'm like, I don't think so. And I went there, 2 suitcases. I had $2,000 in my bank account, not enough to even put like a down payment on anything. And I had 2 suitcases of clothes and I never came back. I mean, then I came back to visit, but I mean, I moved.
Yeah,
That was it. And I just figured it out. And I just realized who I was. My spirit was so free and not like anything that I was told to do, that I just wanted to fly. And also wanting to be a TV host, that was where I was going. I just knew there was more. And it wasn't just about, I didn't want to become famous. It wasn't about like the lights and the glitter. It was just more, I wanted a different environment that fed my soul. And now that I'm there, 18 years, I just know why. I was looking for a place where 2 hours away, you can be anywhere, mountains, beach, desert.
Yep. My husband always says that from LA, you can be the desert, the mountains, the snow, the beach.
And that's what I was looking. So like deep in my soul, I just needed nature. I really felt like it was the nature that drew me there. Also a little bit of my dad being like, you should be married. You should do this. I'm like, okay, I don't want that life. I may struggle and take the hard path, but that path is for me. And that was another reason I think subconsciously I moved there, not knowing that was the part of it, but it was. So I love it there. But now I'm in Miami and like my boyfriend's here and I'm not a Florida person, so it's a little bit difficult for
Florida
me.
is a very divisive subject now as well.
I mean, look, Miami's good if it's going to be somewhere, but however, I'm such a I need the mountains and I love hiking.
There's no mountains in Florida.
There's no hiking in Miami.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of hiking in LA. You mentioned running and I just laughed because, being from the valley, it's like, let's go. I know.
And I do more like Malibu Palisades, but that's my jam. Yeah. I need to be near
I like
water.
the Palisades. I did a show in the Palisades, like right out of high school.
You did?
I did at the Palisades Theater. I don't know if it's still there. It's like this little non-union theater, and I would drive on the 405.
Oh my God,
through
that's
traffic
amazing.
to go do the show at this theater.
Amazing.
So you are the founder of Pop Your Shop, which is which basically we create pop-up shops, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what inspired you to start this company, and what are some of the favorite pop-ups that you've worked on?
Yeah, so again, like not going with the rules. I was working for Angelina Magazine, which is a luxury lifestyle magazine in Los Angeles. So it's great. It talks about all things, real estate, food, hot places to go, what's trending, fashion, beauty, all of it. And I was doing all of their events. I was the event director there. And I was working with tons of brands. And I just thought, it's when pop-ups were just coming out, by the way. Like Target would do their Christmas pop-up. I mean, it was so new. And I just thought, oh my God, all these brands really want their own store or just want their own area to like showcase their product. Why don't I do this on my own? And I just thought I could do this on my own. Well, it's not so easy, but I just thought, let me save for a year at my job and break off and see what clients I could kind of take with me. And then I started Pop Your Shop. I think it was, oh my God, when did I start? 2000, I would say, I think it was 2013. I started it, or 14, something around that arena. Yeah, I think it was 14. And I just thought I wanted to create my own experiences for people. It goes back to bringing joy. I wanted to like really bring people to a place where they could feel, touch, see new products, and experience a fun event. And why did I need to work for an entity? I could just do this by myself. So that was kind of like what really inspired me behind it. And I've always been an entrepreneur. I just didn't know if I could make it as an entrepreneur. And even now, like I still feel like, is it imposter syndrome? I've had it all these years, but now I'm shifting into a different realm and I don't know how to it's almost like I don't know how to reinvent myself again, but you really do know. It comes from within. It's like you doing the podcast. I want to do a podcast, by the way, for 5 years. I'm jumping because it's for a reason, because
Mazel tov.
thank you, but I never did it because I just didn't know how to reinvent myself again. But
imposter syndrome is also like a very real thing. And I feel like everyone, unless they're narcissists, secretly has imposter syndrome. Agree. I think that it's normal if you're successful in any capacity where you feel like you don't deserve.
But then you just got to do it, right? And I still haven't done it because I'm like, oh my God, how is it going to look? What are people going to think? How do I do this? I don't know how to do the tech. So I didn't start it. And it's the same. But when I go back to Pop Your Shop, when I left, I didn't know anything, Nicole. Like literally, what do I know about running a business? I knew just how to put on an event. Like
I know, I feel exactly the same way. When we start our business, we were like, I have a degree in musical theater, and I have to deal with like a CPA now, and
exactly. I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not. So when I did this, I just thought I'm good enough in my craft and people love me and love what I bring, that's enough to start it, and the other stuff will work itself out. So I mean, like my business, by the way, was all referral. I didn't do any marketing. I should have, because if I did marketing, I probably would have gotten a ton more, but I knew that pop-ups were not the only thing I wanted to do. So that's the other part. Like I didn't want to scale it. I could have scaled it in every city, and I just thought, no, I did that. Like, I'm good there. I want to go back to really like inspiring and helping people. I don't want to work with brands anymore. But one of my favorite ones I ever did was two of them. BCBG, I did like this amazing beauty pop-up. They were going to the beauty space. They just launched this in 2020, which they're known for fashion. And we did this like influencer experience where everybody got to like try it on, but be at this like gorgeous social private club. And they got to like have makeup artists put it on. Like it was very experiential in the fact that they got to touch everything, see everything, and experience what it would feel like to, just to have like the beauty around them, as opposed to just going into a store, picking it up and like trying on some blush. We had like a couple of moments that, it just made them feel special. And I came up with some fun concepts for them to take part in. And then, I did one for LOL Dolls, which is like the kids' dolls. They were launching a movie, and I did this like amazing pop-up with like their new line, and really just to bring joy to kids. And we had all these fun Instagram moments, and people can like, there's just like so many fun things. It was like Disneyland, like you can just play. I just love creating fun, innovative things that are new, like in the sense that people could just like feel that they're a part of something, and then also connecting with others. Because I think a lot of these influencers too, like when I'm doing this, they just go, they take their selfie or picture and then they leave. And so what I was really about with Pop Your Shop was creating new experiences where people can connect and share information and feel like they've made a new friend at an event.
That's much more fun, in my opinion, I think, than just kind of snapping a picture and leaving.
Exactly.
So this last portion, I do this with all my guests, is very much like the actor's studio. So these are just kind of short form questions. You don't need to like think too much about it.
Okay.
So what is your favorite Yiddish word?
I would say chutzpah.
Chutzpah. It's a good one.
What I say I try to have all the time. And I love other people's chutzpah.
What is your favorite Jewish holiday?
Well, I don't know if I would say holiday. I think Shabbat though is my favorite thing. It's just connected me so much more to pausing, turning off all my devices and connecting with the people that I love. That has changed everything for me.
I need to disconnect my devices at least once in a while. I need to work on that. I'm bad at it.
It's so difficult.
So we talked about this. If you had a bat mitzvah today, what would your theme be?
Oh, Barbie for sure.
Barbie?
But everybody would be like a different Barbie and everybody would be a different Ken.
What profession other than your own would you want to attempt?
Oh my goodness. So many. I love trying new things and being like, every time I go to Starbucks, I feel like I would love to be a barista because I have no idea how to do any of those drinks, but it boggles my mind how much they know and how friendly they are when they deliver like the coffee drinks. Like I feel like I would want to do that. Also, I have a dream. I would be a professional dancer, 100% where I perform. That is like the dream of all dreams.
If heaven is real and God is there to welcome you, what would you like to hear them say?
Harmonie, you truly made an impact on the world, and everybody that you love is going to be okay, and they will meet you here when they're ready.
So is there anything you want to plug so that anybody listening knows about? I know you talked about your podcast. If you want to talk a little bit about that or anything else you're working on.
I would love to plug the podcast because it's finally going to come out next month after
Wow.
5 years. So it will be Life with Harmonie, and it will be focused on personal development, but it'll be solo cast, interviewing experts, and really bringing harmony into your life. And in the areas where you feel stuck, giving you digestible tools to really get you there. And I'm my own client in this podcast. So everything that I was like going through when I did turn 40, it's for everybody, but especially people that feel stuck at a certain age, really getting them through those times, but helping them navigate with tools where they can kind of get out of their own head. That's really what the podcast is about. And then new information in all sectors. So it'll be everything wellness too, especially for women because our hormones start to change. And I didn't know that. So it'll be introducing a lot of experts and like practitioners in those fields as well to kind of bring in new information. So, and that will just be my Instagram will be at Harmonie Krieger, which will be the same Instagram. I'll have Life with Harmonie, but that will be it will be all under really one umbrella. And then I'm also working on, I already created a Jewish support group for women in LA, but I'm going to expand the community and open that up and start to do events for Jewish women all over.
Cool. Well, when you're in New York, please let me know.
I will.
To come.
And I have a few people in New York that I'm collaborating with, so maybe we can chat too and like see how we can bring.
Yeah, let me know. Together. You have my info. Thank you so much for joining me. It has been a pleasure talking to you. This has been Nicole Kelly with She Brew in the City.
When the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planets and love will see the stars. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius. be turned.